Deus Ex told a story ripe for conversations, so picking just one is a difficult task. In the game, you discover that a secret organization of Illuminati members have had control of the world for hundreds of years now, but with the advent of the internet, they started to lose their grip on societies as random people were able to quickly spread misinformation and ideas. The Illuminati, which feared for its power, had a council of 5 main leaders who disagreed on how to handle the situation. But eventually, one man named Bob Page won and was able to either kill, ruin, or drive out the other members, with one of the survivors being Morgan Everett, who sets out to try and stop Bob. Bob believed that the only way to save humanity from their own doom because of the internet was to implement a series of plans in order to have himself ascend to a human-machine hybrid that he saw as a god. First, Bob would release a contagion known as the Great Death, which would kill millions, similar to COVID almost. Then he would trick governments across the world into consolidating power, after which he would imprison multiple Americans and gain control over the internet, after which he would merge with it. So overall, the game tells a story that warns of the power of the internet itself, and the harsh consequences it could have on humanity, as well as what it really means to be a god, and also asks if the world is run by an Illuminati figure. And while all these questions or ideas are fascinating in their own right, there's one question from the game that, for me at least, is a much less asked one, and also one that I personally find very fascinating. Remember Morgan Everett, another member of the Council of 5 who was originally driven out by Bob? Well, in game, he is the main guy who helps you take Bob down, and has created a handful of his very own AIs, some of which have become sentient, hoping they can solve the issue. Well, one of these AIs is actually a prototype in Morgan's residence, and if you walk up and talk to it in game, you get this very interesting interaction.
You underestimate humankind's love of freedom.
The individual desires judgment. Without that desire, the cohesion of groups is impossible, and so is civilization.
Morpheus is obviously a very high-level intelligence, and with that comes some interesting observations on humanity. The individual desires judgment. Without that desire, the cohesion of groups is impossible, and so is civilization. It's an interesting idea, isn't it? And quite likely true too, because we do as humans strive for judgment. As Morpheus says, it was first the gods that judged us, and then, as Nietzsche proclaimed, when the gods had died, we had tried to replace them with machines. Nowadays, it's so often that we see people who cannot take judgment, that at even the very mention of any character flaws are flung into a rage. But maybe that's because we have lost our way with judgment itself. We lost the gods that once gave us reason and meaning, and without them we have been afflicted with a sickness. It's natural for us to assume we want our freedoms to judge ourselves, to make choices, and decide the fate of our own lives. But as experiment after experiment has shown us, we as humans don't crave freedom, we crave judgment. When we are given freedom, we simply become paranoid, like the famous jelly bean experiment, where it has been observed over and over again that given the choice between 100 different flavors of jelly beans or just 2, humans almost unanimously are more happy when given less choice, less freedom, because it allows us to focus more and not become overwhelmed. And in our modern era now too, we see ourselves daily giving up freedoms of autonomy, speech, and even privacy to governments and big corporations that feed off our data like vampires. But as much as we want to blame these powerful forces for what has happened, maybe it was just part of the human condition all along. Because we as humans crave judgment, we don't crave freedom. We need systems and laws in place that provide us with a structure from which we can identify who we are, whether that be good or evil. Before, religions provided this. They gave hope to the hopeless and meaning to the meaningless. And whether these arrangements were actually good is up to interpretation, but what they did provide was judgment, a way for us to formulate ourselves in this crazy world. And now with the advent of artificial intelligence and the internet, it seems clear that we as a species are choosing to forgo our freedom to see the world as it is, instead to create institutions that tell us how to. Maybe Bob in Deus Ex wasn't so wrong after all. Maybe only by once again taking power as the Illuminati could the world become right as it once was. After all, a humanity without a god, without judgment, is a humanity on the brink of destruction. But maybe he wasn't right either. And there might just be something deep within all of us that gives us that meaning, should we look deep enough. It's the argument between intrinsic and extrinsic moral value. For me, I know I crave judgment, and I know you do too. For as much as we are told to focus on ourselves, we are social creatures, and it's only in the eyes of our peers that we find meaning, our purpose, because it's in the eyes of others that we see ourselves. So the question then becomes, though, can their judgment be of their own volition, a society born of society, or must we have a bigger organization, a structure for all that, which makes us human? Judging by where we are now in society, we may just be about to find out.